$500 million is likely coming to Connecticut to build a rail system from New Haven to Springfield. Here now with Congressman John Larson, one of the most powerful guys down in D.C., the chairman, newly minted chairman of the Democratic caucus. All that power pops in here for a visit. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Stan.
So listen, real quick, before we get into this rail situation,
sure.
This governor's race is going to be kind of interesting here. Dan Malloy, Tom Foley, right? First open seat. Democrats haven't had a governor in 20 years. What are your thoughts on how this is shaking out?
Well, obviously, I think Dan Malloy is going to do extraordinarily well.
But is it getting attention across the country? Are people watching what's happening here in Connecticut?
Sure. Well, certainly because of the fact that so many self-funding elections are taking place out in California, but here in the state of Connecticut with both the Senate race and, of course, the governor's race being a self-funded race where you have multimillionaires pouring in money. It certainly has attracted everyone's attention. And, of course, Dan's stunning win on Tuesday, I think, has caught the attention of the nation. And certainly for us, when you have somebody that capable, who's an administrator, who's focused on job creation, who understands what's needed to be done in the state of Connecticut to put people back to work, and I think we've got a winner in Dan Malloy.
Tom Foley is a turnaround specialist. He comes in there, cleans up Dodge, walks out with no mud on his clothes, right?
Yeah, listen, I always make a point, and certainly we saw enough of negativity in all these campaigns, but I think the debates will reveal an awful lot. I think that Dan is anxious for that opportunity to demonstrate what an administrator can do. What I like about Malloy, he's not about big government or small government. He's about efficient government. And he knows how to get the job done. He's done it in Stanford. He's put people back to work.
We're giving him a 30-second ad. We don't have the Republicans here do that, so we'll get off that. But you're giving him an ad there. But
he's going to be terrific.
We're going to have both those guys. We have Foley and Malloy, and hopefully down the road get them in to talk for themselves. But you gave a good plug for your guy there. But let's talk about the rail system. Sort of a bipartisan situation, right? Springfield to New Haven, big deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal. Now, this is something that's been in the works for a while. Let's applaud speaking of bipartisanship, let's applaud the governor for getting this through the bonding commission. Without that, it would have signaled to the federal government that there wasn't the interest in the state of Connecticut. So the state of Connecticut approving $260 million, the federal match being $220 million. This is not only going to connect Springfield to New Haven, but this ultimately is Montreal to New York City, and from Springfield to Boston, and so all the connectivity. What this means in terms of connectivity with Bradley Field, with our busway systems, et cetera, is greater economic opportunity for the entire region. Clearly, jobs in the area, not the least of which will be to create the high-speed rail that will necessitate more frequent travels, and also greater connection between Springfield, Hartford, New Haven, and New York City.
Why wasn't it done earlier when the state was flush with cash years ago? Well, why now, when the state's broke?
From your lips to God's ears. And, why did we start all the infrastructure programs during the Depression? Because you needed to reinvest in America, and I think that's the thing I'm most proud of as a member of Congress, is the new emphasis on making it in America and selling it around the world. Not only selling around the world, but here. And so this administration, under the leadership of Barack Obama, there has been an abandonment of the rail systems in the past. But this president saw and has a vision about uniting the country with high-speed rail, something that will create both commerce and greater accessibility, livable communities. It also means jobs for the area. And so I commend the president, and I commend this opportunity. We have all of New England pulling together on this. When you have Vermont, you have the 2 senators from Vermont, 2 senators from Massachusetts, and the 2 senators from Connecticut, and the entire congressional delegations from those states. This is a great opportunity for us.
What about those who say, wait a second, Connecticut has all this debt, it's one of the highest in-debt states in the country. The last thing they need to do right now is borrow $260 million when they have $1 billion in deficits.
Well, everybody should be concerned about deficits, and everybody ought to attack those deficits in a reasonable manner. But we also have to make sure that we're not penny wise and pound foolish. And the one thing we do know is this, is that when you make investments in your infrastructure, and when you look at the rate of return that we're going to get, whether it be in the area of manufacturing or in this case high-speed rail that will be dedicated to the spread of commerce and the connectivity between Bradley Airport and also our busway systems, this is nothing but a plus for the state of Connecticut. And in the yield will be about a 4-to-1 advantage for the state of Connecticut long term. not to do it, Stan, conversely, we only create a slippery. How do you dig yourself out of this situation if you don't invest in the American people, if you don't believe in making it in America and putting people back to work here, building high-speed rail within the country, creating that connectivity? That's what it's all about.
So many folks are married to their vehicles. We have about a minute left.
That's true.
How can you guarantee that you spend whatever you'll spend at the end of the day, a couple of $1 billion probably build this thing? How do you guarantee that people are going to use it?
Well, I think two things, both livable communities and the cost of energy. And cost, you're right, people love their automobiles. But the cost of getting back and forth to work, the cost of parking, if you make the ease and accessibility, not only during the week and the price, but not only in terms of traveling for work, but how about the ability to get from Hartford to New York City or from Hartford to Boston and not to worry about the traffic and also to have the ease and leisure. And now today with everybody so digitally inclined, et cetera, you can't drive in your automobile and do this, but you can on a train, and you can spend more leisurely weekends as well, traveling to our great metropolitan areas, our museums. It's only going to expand the Science Museum, the Wadsworth Atheneum, all the great cultural activities we have in Hartford as well.
30 seconds. We have changing gears. $110 million coming to Connecticut to help save teaching jobs.
Absolutely
part of a
necessary.
$1 billion package. Talk about that because, again, more concerned about, the country's going into more debt. But here it's going to save probably, I think, 1,300 jobs. Talk about that real quick. 30 seconds.
You're right about that, too. I mean, here's the thing. In this time, in a global economic downturn, in a global economy, we want to make sure that we're preparing the next generation. The last thing in the world we need to be doing is sending our children to more overcrowded classes. So this was essential to make sure that we have teachers, that we preserve these jobs for teachers here, but not only teachers, but also for firefighters, police, and emergency medical people. But that's education's the key to the future.
You're a very powerful guy, but not more powerful than the producers here at Fox CT. Thanks to all our guests, Patrick T.C. Bradley, Janetta Bennett, who was not here, Neil Thompson, John Larson. You can send your show comments or requests or watch us again, folks, at ctnow.com, and friend us on Facebook. Become a fan of the Stan Simpson Show. We're on Twitter, too. Look out for our tweets. Lori Perez and The Real Story are next for the good folks here at Fox, Connecticut. I'm Stan Simpson. We'll see you next week.